Okay, in our quiz for material costing, there is this question 7, and I noticed that question 7 is one questions that a lot of students made a mistake. So I want to use this as a way of discussion. So I'm going to make this video and share it with you all. How do we get the answer? Now, the questions is actually asking you about this thing called stock holding, annual stock holding costs. So that's what they're asking. Let me just highlight the requirement. They're asking for stock holding costs. Okay. Now, a different word for holding costs. Holding costs is the same as storage costs. All right. And this will be the cost that a business will incur when you want to keep your stock. You want to hold your stock. Okay. So I write down over here. So remember, when you want to store or when you want to keep the stocks in your warehouse, okay, what kinds of costs the business would incur? Okay. Now think logically. For example, you need to rent a place. Okay, you need to rent the warehouse. Sometimes you have to buy insurance. Okay, so the insurance for the stocks. Some stocks they need to have special equipments to, example, regulate the temperature. So let's say if you're keeping frozen goods, you need a refrigerator, so you got to pay electricity, so you can use that to relate to holding costs. Okay, so let's say the electricity, because you have to regulate the temperature. Now, and holding costs will be higher because you're going to store the longer period, the higher the cost. Now, you just use the logic. Okay, if I'm going to keep my stock for 1 month, I will have to pay 1 month's rent. Agree? Now, what happens if, let's say, you're going to keep the stock for 6 months? Well, then you have to pay 6 months rent. So holding cost is based on the time. The longer you keep the stocks, the more you have to pay. Okay? Now, so now you get the concept. So I'm going to give you the formula. Now, there are actually two formula for holding costs. Okay, two formula for holding costs. Now, why do I say there's two formula for holding costs? Now, one is the formula that we use in a normal situation. Okay, a normal situation. Okay, then the other one is the formula that we use in our EOQ calculation. Okay, the EOQ, the theory. Now, if you remember when we talk about EOQ, the theory of EOQ is to give us an order size that will give us the lowest stock cost. And from the context of EOQ, stock cost in this case refers to your holding costs as well as your ordering costs. So these are the two types of stock costs that we are having. Okay, now because it's a formula that we're trying to come up with that equation, so we need some kind of assumptions to make the formula not overly complicated. And the assumption that we always hold in EOQ is we say that there will be no lead time, which in real life that's not true. Okay, now when you say you have no lead time, that means the moment you pick up your phone or you place an order in your computer, you just turn to the side and then the goods just appeared right in front before your very eyes. That's no lead time. I mean, it's impossible until we have technology to teleport goods. There will always be lead time. You know, even if you order from Shopee, you probably will only get 1 day later, 2 days later. That's like even really fast. Okay, so it's actually not true that we say there's no lead time, but in that formula we assume that there's no lead time. Okay, we assume that there's no lead time. So what will the impact be when you assume that there's no lead time? Now, you know, when we assume that there's no lead time, you do not need to keep any safety stock. You follow? Okay, you do not need to keep safety stock. Now, again, when we learn stock control measure, right, what is the logic of keeping safety stock? Now, the reason why we keep safety stocks is because we know that when you order something, the goods will take time to arrive. And that's the reason why we will not order something when the goods, the quantity is completely zero. We will have a reorder level, and then we place an order when the quantity reach the reorder level. Then while we are waiting for the goods to arrive, the goods will continue to fall. So that is why, just to use this to remind you again, okay, I need the non-dotted line. The burung kakak tua, the burung gagak, sorry, not kakak tua, burung gagak is making a lot of noise. The crow is can you hear? Okay, now this is what we would usually do. So we have stock control levels, okay? So this is a basic way of how we can look at it. Now, so this level is what we call as the reorder level, the level that you call supplier to place an order. This is what we call as the maximum stock level. This will be the units you keep beyond, it's not going to use, okay? And this is your minimum, which is what we call as your safety stocks. Or another word for safety stocks is called buffer stock, okay? So the logic is, when your quantities start to fall, let's say at this point, this is your stock level, okay? This is your stock level. Okay, so okay, anyway, maybe I'll just use, okay, let's say this is your point, that your stock level at this stage. So you know what happens is, as you sell your stocks over time, your stock level is going to fall. So when your stock level hit this point, okay, your stock level hit this point, all right, you find that you call supply and place an order, and while you call supply and place an order, your stocks may continue to fall, you see. And of course, you can even fall, you know, the rate of falling could be this, because you don't know what your business is going to be. So if your stock fall to this minimum level, I've told you before, that means you got to be really panic in the sense that, hey, you got to do something. You got to call supply and find out, hey, where are my goods? Are you coming or not? You imagine it's Chinese New Year, and then you got to sell your Chinese New Year dinner, and then you order a lot of abalone, people like abalone, okay, and then your goods are not there. You're gonna get panicked, so you should call supply and find out. Okay, so that is the whole idea. So let's say now your goods fall to this level, and then the goods arrive. That's why when the goods arrive, it goes up by the order size, the reorder quantity, okay? Now, the thing about holding cost is this: you don't hold the same quantity throughout the period, because you're selling. That's why you see the graph is going down. So logically, you will only hold what we call as the average stock. The average stock, okay? And what is the formula here for average stocks? Which is based on the opening plus closing divide by 2, okay? Now the reason why we call that as average is because you take the high point and the low point, you divide by 2, okay? So that will always be the formula for average stocks. So we go back to this particular question, and let me explain to you, okay? Why that in EOQ formula, whenever we calculate holding costs, we take Q divide by 2. Now the reason is because the order quantity is the quantity that you're going to get, and every time you will sell until it comes to 0. That's why the opening or the highest, the maximum, the highest quantity is your Q, the lowest quantity is 0. That's why it's Q divided by 2. Because you don't have to take Q plus 0, it is 0, okay? So you straight away take Q divided by 2, then you multiply by the holding cost per unit. Now, but in a normal situation, right, the safety stock is assumed to be always there, because you somehow have to maintain. So this is like no matter what, it's like this part, no matter what, you will always keep the stock, because you must maintain the minimum. So it's like this quantity will always be in the store throughout the year. Then you will still continue to have this graph. From the top, it go down, go up, go down, go up. So you will still take the quantity, so it goes up to Q, comes down to this point, so it's still Q divided by 2. But you will add in the safety stock because you keep them. So that is why in a normal situation, when you want to calculate your holding cost, we take the safety stock quantity, then only we plus Q divided by 2, and then we multiply with holding cost per unit. Now, so in exam, you're probably going to ask, how do I know whether this is based on the EOQ or not the EOQ? Now, actually, it's quite easy one. Normally, if you look at the exam question, if they mention, like in this case, they say the order quantity is 2,000. Why did they give you the safety stock? Now, that is already assuming that you will keep safety stock. So that means you should automatically know that the safety stocks is needed as part of the holding cost calculation. So the holding cost, they say, is $1.20 per kilo per annum. So what should be the holding cost? Now you see, I take Q is 1,002 divided by 2. That's the normal one. Sorry, Q is 2,000. Q is 2,000. That's the order size. So Q divided by 2. Okay. Now then I add together with the safety stock. So when you add them together, you're gonna get 2,200. And every kilo your holding cost is 1.2. So that's why your cost is 2,640. So the correct answer is this. Okay. Now if you have used only 1,000, okay, if you have used only 1,000, which is Q divided by 2 times 1.2, you will get the answer is 1,002. But that is not the normal situation. That only applies in an EOQ situation. That means you are doing an EOQ calculation. So like I said, how do I know which one I'm going to use? Normally, if the questions give you the safety stocks, then you have to add in the safety stocks. Okay, right? So I hope this is a short video to clarify this particular answer, because I know a lot of the students have taken 1,002 as an answer, which you are not wrong if you're doing EOQ calculation. So I think it's good to explain this and clarify. Okay, right? Thank you very much.